I'm Amy.
I'm Erica, and this is our music video treatment. Outline!
The song that we have chosen is Angel on Fire by Halsey.
I woke up to an art of the mess in the living room. Broken bottles all around my feet. Cause they talk and drink and laugh about things and fall in love in my backyard. In the background screaming, everybody look at me. And I'm fading away, you know I used to be on fire.
And the reason for that is because it's basically about the artist Halsey, her struggle with bipolar disorder, and we thought mental health isn't really spoken about much, so we thought we'd address that.
The name of our artist is Outlex, and the reason we chose that is because lex in Latin means law, so the word is outlaw, and this is basically the idea of our artist and the album we've created for her, which is called Stigma, and it's about talking about issues that are not commonly discussed. Our video will reflect that as well.
So the genre we chose was electropop, and we thought what ties in well with that is the 80s style, because you've got the neon lights and the whole aesthetic of it just suits like the conventions of the genre.
Yes.
And so our influence is definitely Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, definitely. The style of it is interpretive narrative because it's about taking conceptual imagery, because that's also important, and sort of getting a meaning about it from it. But also it's also performance, because a lot of the chorus will be performance and so on. So we really just combined all the aspects together to make a visually interesting video.
We have two types of narrative, the framed and the inner, and the framed appears at the intro and the outro of the music video. The artist, Alex, and also the main character, is sitting outside on these steps outside a house. Music hasn't even started yet, and she comes across this VHS tape with a sticky note on it. She's intrigued, she wants to know what's on it, so she goes to an empty room with an old TV on it, and she inserts it and sees what happens. And then we zoom to the TV and we go to the inner narrative.
The inner narrative is basically the main bit of the video. It's where the song goes on. So because the idea for the video is essentially her struggling with issues of mental health and so on, and the song itself is about how previously the artist had a lot of confidence in herself and in the people that she was surrounded by, but now she feels ignored and she feels like there's nothing you can do, and it's about sort of reflecting that visually. It starts on the street, she's walking around, it's quite dark, it's quite moody, she's upset clearly. This is where we introduce a different character, which I'm very excited about. We call her like Anxiety Alex, and basically it's a personification of anxiety in a way, and it's played by the same person, so they're following the main character, making their life quite difficult in a sense. A motif that we've selected for the entire video, where sticky notes are basically going to be surrounding her in different ways. We're following her on the street, for example, with them being laid out and sort of in a pathway, saying all of these negative things, and then we go into the chorus.
The chorus will contain a lot of the performance aspects. There'll be a lot of imagery, such as like a projection. There'll be burning roses, which will relate to something later on in the narrative. There'll be wings, because the name of the song is Angel on Fire. So the second verse is a different location. She's at a dinner party. She's at the head of the table, and she's just observing, and there's these ghostly figures who are just zooming past her. And like saying, life is going on without her, and no one is noticing her like they used to. And this is when an anxiety figure comes back, and just the sticky notes come back with them, and just like they start falling all around her, they appear all around her.
But in this verse, we also introduce this other character, which I think won't be seen on screen as much. That's not the focus is the performer themselves, but they come in and sort of argue with the main character, and that's another factor into the whole issues that she's having currently.
So the second chorus, again, is performance, but there is different aspects of conceptual imagery.
Yes.
Breaking mirror.
It's going to be between the performer and the anxiety figure, and it's about sort of breaking and trying to get rid of the anxiety figure.
There'll be a projection of the anxiety figure over the artist, and this kind of says like the anxiety is consuming the person. Also be bright neon lights flashing everywhere, and it's going to be blinding.
Then we go into the bridge, and we find our main character basically on a cliff hilltop sort of area, lying there, covered and surrounded by these negative thoughts on the stick notes and stuff. We end essentially the bridge, we're building up to this final chorus bit. Anxiety figure will be there. She's standing over the hilltop, and essentially all the stick notes come flying, and she's screaming over the top, and it's kind of meant to signify her getting rid of all of these issues, and that's kind of the breaking part of the video.
So by now the song is finished, and we go to the outro, which again is the framed narrative, and the artist has just finished watching the VHS tape. She's quite upset, she wants to take it out, she wants to get rid of it, she wants to forget all of these bad things.
Yeah.
So she leaves the party, she goes to this riverside, and she decides to just throw it in to get rid of it. But what we don't know is that there was someone following her the whole time to make sure she was okay. So we don't see who it is, we just see an arm on their shoulder in a supportive way asking if they're okay.
There is positive hope at the end.
So in terms of characters, there's the hero, in terms of Props Theory, which is Alex. They are also the artists, they also appear in the performance.
And opposite that, we obviously have our villain character, which is the same performer, all of that, but it's Anxiety Alex, which is basically a very dark version of her in the style and in the visual stuff, but also the way that she acts and performs and stuff. With visuals and style choice,
We have the lighting, first of all, and we wanted to create a massive contrast between light and dark because we have these two oppositions between good and bad.
and then with colours, we've chosen a lot of neons against the blacks. It's conventional in the genre, definitely, with our influence of the 80s and stuff. We also have the motif of the orange and reds, because we thought because of fire is going to be quite important. As you know, the song's called Angel on Fire, and there's the burning wings imagery and all that. So with the neons, it's going to be a lot of very bright reds and oranges.
Next is costume and makeup, and for the main character Alex, are going to be quite edgy but also trendy.
A bit glamorous, but also trendy and real for teenagers of our time.
And for the anxiety figure, it's obviously going to be a lot darker to fit in with the theme. It's going to be lots of black, lots of tight leather, kind of like rocky gothic,
Yeah.
and just going to be really, really dark in comparison to the main character.
So with props, I think that an important part is definitely the sticky notes.
So for the conceptual imagery as well, we're going to need the roses, we need the wings, and also we need the neon lights. We're going to need the VHS tape and the TV.
It's the whole 80s theme and the neons and stuff, so it conceptually brings it all together.
So when it came to looking at influence from music video, we were also looking at specific artists. Halsey was a big influence for us because she
Definitely.
wrote the song.
Yeah, especially I particularly really like Ghost because it has Tokyo and the bright city lights and all of the neons and stuff. Tell everyone, what is the target audience? The age,
15 to 25,
gender,
female, because obviously the artist is female and they can relate to that character more.
class.
Class E, because these young people, obviously, most of them will be students at university or school.
Psychographics.
In terms of young and boot camp, I would say the Informer and the Explorer. So in terms of theory for the audience,
Yes.
I will be talking about the uses and grats like Balloon Moon Cats. And we think the reason why our audience would consume our music video is obviously for entertainment and also for personal identity.
So with the reception model by Stuart Hall, we've definitely encoded messages of mental health, and I feel like that would be the dominant reading from our video.
So next is location. In the frame narrative, we have the party scene. Yeah, this is a good like convention of the genre.
We have the street area, so that's basically just going to be a really long road that we find.
As well as the dinner party, in the second verse, we've got like these neon lights area, and it's a museum called God's Own Junkyard, and we're thinking that would be really, really good for the performance aspect.
For the bridge, we're going to have the hilltop, which is basically going to be in Richmond Park.
For the outro, when she throws the VHS tape into the river, we're obviously going to go to the riverside.
Amy, tell them about the camera angles. What is the wide shot for?
To show the whole location, what is the medium shot going to be used for?
So just for focusing on performance and so on, that would be a good mid shot for. What are close-ups for?
So the close-ups will be used for like the conceptual details, like zooming in on the neon lights, the burning of the roses. We want to get every single detail of them. What about the tight frames and canted angles?
So that's mainly for distorting and giving a nightmare sort of scenario to the video. What's the worm's eye view for?
So this will be done using a GoPro, and it'll be in the outro because we're going to put it in the river. So when she throws the VHS tape in, you just see it go down, and she's like looking down, is it?
And she looks powerful because we're looking at her from a very
Yeah.
low angle. What is the odd shot for?
So it can be used at like the cliff/hilltop to like go around her as she's like screaming because it just like it's really, really dramatic. Shallow focus, go.
Right, so that's for the party scene. Basically, we want to focus on her and portray the fact that everything else is gone like really blurry for her and she's kind of just in her head and it's just, she feels ignored by everything else. So with sound, should we talk about the framed narrative bit?
So basically there won't be any music during the frame narrative. So all of the sounds will be diegetic, such as like the background music in the party.
Let's talk about editing. So, what's really important? Lip syncing.
We're also thinking we could do lip sync and playback, like the dinner party scenes when everyone around her is kind of like just slowed down and she's just singing. The cross-cutting is when we jump between the narrative and like the performance and like the aspect of it. What about cutting on action slash?
That's about making this video quite exciting and performative because it is electropop and the song itself is quite exciting and stuff, so we want to make sure that when she's singing along, dancing, all of that, it's happening to the beat.
So in terms of theory, we're going to go into Roland Barthes' 5 codes within the narrative. And we thought the first one would be semantic in terms of like the mental health and everything.
Yeah, and that comes into symbolic from Barthes theory because we want to use the conceptual imagery to create meaning and stuff in the video that is accessible for everyone to interpret in their own ways. We also are using Richard Dyer.
So we want to see the star as an ideology, so obviously they're going through a lot. We want that to kind of be like a role model towards the audience. We want them to look up to them saying, oh, it does get better, we can get better.
And finally, Goodwin's theory.
So parts of it is obviously you've got the 5 key aspects. One of them is thought through beat, which is what we like said in the techno aspect. We want to like have the narrative matching the beat of the song.
And we have definitely amplified certain aspects in the lyrics. We have the images and so on that have come up repeatedly in the video with burning and so on. So there's definitely a lot of relationship between the song itself and our video of it. With equipment and resources, we have a really long list of the amount of things. So we're going to quickly go through all the things that we need. XLR camera.
Along with the camera, we're going to need the tripod, like
Yes.
the still shots and stuff like we're using now. So another thing which we will want to borrow from the media department is a GoPro for like the riverside scene.
So obviously we might need a drone for any aerial shots to get over the hilltop and stuff like that.
In terms of editing, there are 2 programs we're going to really need, Premiere Pro and After Effects. And finally, we will need the projector. There is one in the drama department.
So we have also divided up our group roles.
Obviously, we'll need the cast, we need the characters for our narrative, and Erica is going to be the anxiety figure, and Alex.
What other bits are we doing together?
So we're directing it, we're also the casting directors, we are also doing the costume, we are also editing, and we are doing the
Sound?
Yeah.
Individually, Amy is in charge of props. I'm working on extra visual effects.
I'm in charge of photography.
We also have contingency plans. What would we do if the location becomes unavailable?
Before actually like going out, we would obviously have a backup with that, and if there's like bad weather, obviously, then we will have to like
Reschedule, or find another place.
film another day.
Exactly. So props, what happens if we are unable to buy some props?
To find alternatives, we look to the school, because they have a props box here, and any friends that might somehow have some of the props that we need.
Yeah.
So what happens if we end up filming it and the lighting is too dim?
Before that, we would plan, the golden hour if we need to film outside, film in that time, and also there's alternatives where we can re-edit in Adobe and so on to make it look a bit brighter if we need to. What happens if we lose any footage or it gets corrupted?
We'll be distraught, but
Yes.
we'll have to reschedule and reshoot.
Definitely. And well, that's it.
Ready to film?
That's our treatment.